Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This week I'm joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now. We hopefully will be joined by John Boyne later this evening, technology allowing. This week we'll be discussing what I would say is actually the best weekend's golf of the entire year. We had four absolutely sensational winners, stars in their own right, and great tournaments that went pretty much all the way to the end. And we'll also be previewing the Memorial Tournament, which has an amazing field, and looking ahead to the events on the European Tour and the LPGA. We'll also be briefly touching on US Open qualifying as we move towards those couple of weeks next month. But without further ado, we'll start with Wentworth and the BMW PGA, and finally Rory McIlroy has returned to the winner's circle after a really, really good season, solid season, 8 top 10s in 9 stroke play events this year, and an amazing comeback, as is the way with Rory.
I tell you what, I was proud to see. I was proud to see some swagger from Roy. He went out and won that tournament. I mean, he got some help. Now, don't get me wrong, he got some help. The triple bogeys at 6 didn't help Thomas Bjorn any, and didn't help Luke Donald any, but you know, that's golf, you know, and Rory seized the opportunity, and I thought he actually played pretty well.
I think he played really well. I mean, he had, what was it, 4 eagles throughout the week. When you do that, you really are playing well. And the shot he hit into the 12th on Thursday was superb. I mean, it was a 7-iron of 203 yards, and he put it to within 6 inches. And just when he can do that, you know his game's right. And I actually think that you look at the golf course the way it's redesigned now, the greens are very much raised up. You have to hit the right portion of the green, and it actually bodes well for Pinehurst. If he can flight his irons like he was last week, I think he's probably the favourite, considering his form. Of course, the sentimental favourite's going to be Mickelson, but I think the way he played last week, with all that's been going on in his private life, which has been so well documented, and you watched that press conference he gave on Tuesday or Wednesday last week, and you could tell he was in turmoil, and to come out and win like that is pretty special.
Yeah, that I've been long saying, and I don't really write a whole lot about relationships and the lifestyle around golf. I'm more interested in what happens on the golf course.
Yeah.
But I did a long time, probably a year ago, wrote that you know, the girlfriend was probably more of a problem than the clubs were. You know, the new clubs that he went to with Nike when he signed with Nike.
Yeah.
And I think he, you know, for his golfing career, maybe have made a good decision. But
I think in life as well. I mean, you think that if this situation, if they got married, and how that would impact on his career long term if they got divorced. You look at Tiger, obviously, and without question has had a major impact on him.
Yeah, it was a two-year bump in the road, you know.
So it's probably a good thing, I would say, for both of them. I mean, Caroline Wozniacki can focus on her tennis. She's gone through a real slump in form as well. So I think personally for them, it's great. And to come out and perform like that, I mean, Sunday he was sensational. The up and down on 14, I've walked that par 3, and to do that from where he was out of that lie is just sensational golf.
Well, you know, he still hits the ball higher than anybody on tour.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that if he can keep his head together between now and 2 weeks from now, that he has to be considered one of the favorites going into Pinehurst.
I definitely agree, and I mean it was a close finish again. Wentworth now produces year after year close finishes, and obviously Thomas Bjorn had a very bad final round, but he was nearly there. I mean, but he played so well for 2 of the first 3 days. The 62 on Thursday, The finish on Saturday was sensational.
Yeah, he birdied seven. He birdied 7 holes on the back nine on Saturday. I mean, that was just phenomenal.
I mean, he's leading the race to Dubai. He won at Sun City earlier in the year, and had he won that tournament, he'd almost locked it up, I think. Even though there's big tournaments to go, but the
Yeah.
prize fund was huge, and he would have had a big lead. So, but for him, he moves on to this week in Sweden, and he knows that you get these days, and you see his reaction with Rory at the end, and he's very, very congratulating him. So, and Luke Donald as well, some great golf. I mean, just came up shy at the last with a pretty good shot into the last. He was so close.
I was impressed with Luke Donald because he was driving. What was it? Thursday and Friday he played along with Rory, and he actually outdrove Rory a couple times. And I'm thinking, well, Rory probably didn't hit it as hard as he normally does, but to see Luke Donald out there out driving him, that's something he should have done a long time ago. Was add that distance to his golf swing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a process of a couple of years now, and I think it's something which, if you have, I mean, his short game on Sunday, some of the chips and obviously 2 chip-ins, just superb stuff, and again him at Pinehurst, I mean, he's one of those players that can miss those greens and still make an impact in the tournament. So.
The question I have about Thomas Bjorn is can he hold up for the Ryder Cup?
I think so. I mean, you look at his experience, and he's already got a load of points in the bag, and he doesn't really have to have a great stretch now to secure that spot. So,
well, I'm more interested in how he's going to perform at the Ryder Cup when the chips are down. That's the question I have. I assume he's going to make the Ryder Cup.
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to be looked upon because he's the chairman of the tournament committee. I think he'll be looked upon as that senior figure within the team, and you have to say at the moment there aren't many senior figures in the team. So,
no.
And he's won on that golf course. He won at Glen Eagles in a 5-man playoff. I think it's 3 years ago. So. He can hold his own around there, and he's a very steely competitor. And I don't think there's anybody that really fancy playing him in a match play situation. So
yeah.
I think he'd be an asset to the team. There's no doubt about that.
Well, we'll see.
So I mean, also Shane Lowry had a really good week. I mean,
Shane Lowry did
rotten season, But
I was impressed with him at Dove Mountain. What was it? Not this year, but last year when he. Well, it wasn't saying much that he beat Rory in the first cut, but he played pretty well at Dove Mountain, and he plays decent golf in a match play environment.
Yeah, and he's won as an amateur. He won the Irish Open. He won the Portugal Masters as well, and to finish the way he did, obviously he had a stumble or two down the back nine, and that tee shot on 13 was very unlucky, really, to go where it did.
Yeah, 13 was what killed him, as far as catching Rory, but
then he hauled that monster putt on the 18th. So and he had a great week, good prize money. He's now back in contention to get to the top 60 in Dubai. So I think he won't be dwelling too long on the defeat, really. But it was another great week. I mean, it shows again that, unfortunately, even though the Americans don't come over to the event, because obviously it's opposite Colonial, week before Memorial, the tournament yet again produced a great week, and it really is such a great championship.
I was impressed. I actually spent more time watching the BMW than I did the Colonial.
I think that goes to me as well. But I also, I mean, we will get on to the Senior PGA later on, but I did spend my Sunday evening watching that rather than the Colonial. But Adam Scott, after Stenson had finished in the top 10 at Wentworth, he knew what he had to do, and he went out and did it. He just, managed to pip Jason Duffner. I think it's on the third playoff hole at Colonial, and after Duffner had holed a long putt on the 18th to get into it. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was impressed with Adam Scott with what he done on Thursday and to turn it around, because I didn't think he was going to make the cut.
No, it didn't look like it, did it?
It looked like he was all out of sorts on it, because he started on the back nine on Thursday, and he just absolutely tore that back nine up. But he came back and got everything back except for one stroke before the end of the day. So that was, he knuckled down, and I know he's not the best putter in the world, but when he gets on a roll, he's like anybody else. They start falling in the hole,
Yeah, I mean, when he does putt well, I mean, even when he had the short putter, I remember that a round he shot at Qatar to win. I think it was 61, and he was holding everything with that short putter. So
yeah.
He's always been a streaky putter. So
Yeah.
But he's responded. He's won a big tournament in his first week as world number one, extending his lead away from Tiger, and he looks like the guy that possibly can take over world number one for a significant stretch.
Well, I keep in mind that Henrik Stenson is now number 2.
Yeah.
With Tiger being out, and a couple of more big tournaments, and Roy's could be in the mix again. So
I think so. This week obviously the Memorial, and he's had a decent finish there before. So, but yeah, I mean, the world number one spot is open for some really solid players now. Some great players who won majors and big tournaments. So.
And the next big WGC event that's coming up is going to be Bridgestone, so that ought to be interesting. I think that's before they go to England, isn't it, or to Liverpool?
No, the Bridgestone is a week before the PGA.
That's right. That's right. Right. So John Deere Classic. So that's the week before the Open Championship.
Yeah, it is. So also last week, as I touched on earlier on, you had the Senior PGA Championship.
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
I have to bring it up.
Montgomery finally gets his major.
It's quite definitely the best final round performance I've seen by anybody. And I don't say that lightly. He hit 17 greens. He hit every fairway but one. And he just took it to everybody. I mean, he just played like he played when he was in the Ryder Cup in 1999. Every iron shot was down the flag, and he was holding putts.
Well, you have to think maybe Tom was inspiring him a little bit, How many times has Tom won and beat him on his home turf? He had to come here and get one anyway,
Yeah, I mean, it was just a super win. And Bernhard Langer, obviously, it was set up to be the duel between the two friends, but unfortunately, his swing seemed to get quicker and quicker and quicker, and he just couldn't catch up with it, and hit a horrendous shot into the water. I think it was on the 8th hole, which cost him a double bogey, and he just went backwards really. But for Monty, I mean, he never needed to prove anything in my eyes, but it really does show now. He's shown to the American public and the media that he is a great golfer. I mean, you don't produce that sort of golf under that sort of pressure without being a great golfer. And I'm so happy that he's done it.
He got on the bad side of the Americans at one time, and they've made him pay the price for that over here.
Yeah, sure.
But,
I mean, but now he seems to be more respected. And
we're
cheering him on, So it's a great win, and it is. I mean, I don't often watch senior golf, but I did sit down and watch that, and it was compelling, dude, because you had such a star cast of golfers, any generation.
Yeah, and even I mean, Tom Watson's given away 14 years on him, but for an old man, Mr. Watson can still strike the golf ball.
It's crazy. His swing is the same as it was in '77.
It is.
It's absolutely amazing, and it was such a compelling watch. It was such a great moment to see him finally do it. And yes, of course, it's not a major in terms of the regular tour, but
Yeah,
Gary Player always said it was his senior Grand Slam was better than his regular Grand Slam. So
yeah.
it was a major course and certainly a major field, and he deserved to win convincingly. Um, Last week also, a brief mention on the LPGA, and their season just gets better and better and better.
It
I mean, look
does.
at
It
that
does.
top 10 is unbelievable. Jessica Korda won by one shot with 65 in the final round, 20 under. Anna Norquist 19 under. Charlie Hull 18 under. Katrina Matthew 18 under. Michelle Wee, Lexi Thompson was 17 under. It's just stunning. And then you go on to this week with the ShopRite, and that's got every player in the world. The best players in the world are all playing.
What what's wrong with the South Koreans?
Well, maybe it's everything goes in cycles, and maybe it's their time not to. I mean, you think I saw a film on CNN quite some time ago, and the pressure from the parents at such a young age,
Yeah.
eventually that will burn these young people out, and they're not producing as many top players as they were 5, 10 years ago, perhaps. So
Well, that was the reason that Inby Park separated herself from her parents because they were putting too much pressure on her,
yeah,
and she separated herself from her parents, and she had a great year last year. She's just not doing great this year. She doesn't have the game that she had last year. Putter isn't quite as adamant as it was last year.
no. But then you look at okay, I mean Tiger, it probably isn't a fair comparison, but after he won 3 majors in 2000, he only won one major in 2001.
Yeah.
So, so it's very difficult to follow up such a great season with another really good season. So she's still world number one. She's in the field this week, and it wouldn't surprise me if I mean she has won this year on the LET.
Right. Right.
It wouldn't surprise me if she went on later in the season and got that win. But it's incredible to see the LPGA at the moment. It really is, and there's so many
Yeah.
multiple now, um, and coming in now to the US Women's Open, which Elizabeth will be at for us. It's such a wide open championship, and incredibly, Lucy Lee, 11 years old, has qualified for the US Women's Open. Um,
Yeah.
what can you say about an 11-year-old doing that? It's mind-boggling.
There they have a country that puts a lot of pressure on them, and not just the parents.
Yeah. It's like tennis. I mean, that's what tennis was like 10 years ago.
Yes.
And it's incredible. And she'll be at Pinehurst, soaking up the experience. 3 years younger than Tiang Lan Guan was when he played at Augusta.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if she could actually do something in the first couple of rounds? Frightening stuff.
Well, just the fact she's there, she'll learn something.
So also last week you had US Open qualifying at Walton Heath. Shane Lowry, after such a good week, he actually won the qualifier with 8 under for 2 rounds. Graham Storm, Marcel Siem, Max Kiefer, and Brooks Koepka also qualified for the tournament, along with a few others at Pinehurst. So, and also obviously, the last time the US Open was at Pinehurst, the winner of or one of the qualifiers from that event at Walton Heath was Michael Campbell, and he went on to win the US Open. So maybe it could be a dark horse that comes out of that field and claims the title. You never know.
Yeah, there's no Padraig Harrington this year.
No, I mean, he's shown some glimpses of form recently, but I think that you have to say now, with his exemptions running out, the only major he's in now, definite, is the Open. His time at the top of the game is coming to an end,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and I think he just tinkers with his golf swing too much.
Yeah.
He's always tinkering with it.
Yeah, I think so. And once you've won three majors in what, two years, why would you how can you get better than that? You cannot get better than that. So you should just leave it alone. But so many players, look at every great player has done it. So he's in the history books forever. I mean, he's won back-to-back Opens, the only player to do it in many, many years, the only European to do it in over 100 years. So he's won the PGA. He's contended in Ryder Cups. He's done everything he can do. So I don't think. I mean, his career is set. So, but it is a shame, of course. You want the star players at the top of the game, but he is in his 40s now, and so I don't think we'll see much of him at the top of the game again. But you never know. Players do come and go. So. So moving on to this week, and the Memorial Tournament yet again has an amazing field. Rory McIlroy takes his form into Muirfield Village, where I think he finished fourth a few years ago, and it's a good course for him, I think.
Well, you got to figure that the boys coming over from England that played last week at Wentworth probably are going to be a little jet lagged, but they seem to. The European Tour guys seem to get over it quicker than the American guys that aren't used to, globe hopping.
Yeah, I mean that is a fact. I mean, they do travel a lot more. Rory's cut down his schedule in terms of global travel now. There's no doubt about that in comparison to 2 or 3 years ago, where he was going here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a fact. But you do have the strong Americans playing this week: Kuchar, Dustin Johnson. Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth. So, and it wouldn't surprise me if Kuchar won again, though.
There's something I don't quite understand. I understand that Adam Scott is not on the European Tour, but why does he continue to not play in big tournaments like we had at Wentworth last week?
I have to say I am amazed, because the European Tour was the tour that gave him the chance.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the marquee tournament. I mean, the Colonial isn't the marquee tournament it used to be, 20 years ago. I used to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I went to quite a few Colonials. I've played at Colonial.
Yeah.
And I remember it used to be a pretty good tournament. Back in the day, when Ian Baker Finch and a lot of those boys were Nick Price and all were playing, and I just amazed me this last week Adam Scott wasn't playing in Wentworth where all the stars were at.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. He's given up his membership, I think, and again, I mean, a player who's won at Glen Eagles, I think he shot 27 under around that course, which is absolutely amazing, because I've played it many, many times. But yeah, I mean, he's won in Qatar. He is the perfect fit for a European Tour member, and yeah, I would have thought he would have joined. I mean,
especially with that number one ranking, you'd have thought he'd want to test his game against the best over there, but. Instead of chipping away at Colonial, and there were some good players at Colonial. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah,
but the marquee players weren't there. They haven't been for quite a few years, But Adam did show that he won the Texas Swing Slam. He's won every tournament in Texas now, and not even Ben Hogan done that.
No, I mean, it is a great achievement when you think about it. It's pretty amazing, and. Colonial is a big tournament, there's no doubt about that, but I think both the PGA and Colonial suffer from being the same week. I think the PGA Tour really need to rethink their schedule and put it the week before PGA, because the Byron Nelson never gets a strong field. So
yeah, it's kind of the lull, right now between a lot of people playing Jack's tournament because it's such a marquee tournament, and it's an invitational, if I remember right.
It is, yeah.
I mean, when Jack asks you to play, you play, you know, most of the time. But a lot of the guys on the American Tour tend to skip the second Texas swing, and I don't, you know, which is, I don't know if it's the prize money, because the prize money isn't great or what, but
Well, I mean, obviously the Players' Championship, you've got Quail Hollow, you've got the Players' Championship, and obviously you've got Memorial this week, the US Open coming up. So, and then obviously you've got a big stretch of really, really big tournaments
yeah.
from the US Open through to.
So you figure that a lot of guys are taking some time off. In fact, Jason Day is going to be in the field this week.
Yes.
That's going to be his first outing since the Masters, and that they're still not sure about his wrist, but he's, you know, trying to get ready for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been such a shame. I think it's his thumb, isn't it? That's the injury.
Yes, it's his thumb. I'm sorry.
I think that it's such a shame because he won the Accenture match play. He seems set for such a great season. Augusta, where he's played well so far, and it just because of injury hasn't happened, and it's one of those injuries I think that's going to take a long, long time to heal, and he may need to take a prolonged period of time off to get it right.
Yeah, I agree.
You know? So, but you've got Charles Schwartzel's in the field this week, Jason Duffner, Justin Rose, Luke Donald, but hopefully now, last week is the beginning of a stretch in global golf where the stars win and they perform and they go head to head. Because as I said last week, it's getting a bit tiresome. As much as it's great for these young players that have not been heard of, but week in, week out, where you get different winners that aren't stars of the game, isn't healthy for the game as a product.
Well, it's going to be, after the U.S. Open, it's a brutal stretch, between the Open Championship, the PGA, and then the Ryder Cup. And the FedEx Cup playoffs and the Race to Dubai playoffs. It's a brutal. It's going to be a brutal end of the year.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think it is shaping up actually into one of the great years if the stars can keep playing how they are at the moment. Scotland, Rory, Stenson, Keimer, Nicholson, if he can find form, and then you've got obviously Tiger to come back sometime before the PGA, I would guess.
Is he definitely out for the British Open now, or?
Well, I mean, he seemed pretty uncertain when he did his press conference for the tournament that he hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I seen that.
I think I wouldn't imagine you'd see him at the Open. I think you're more talking probably PGA, maybe even after the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he has enough points to really be a factor in the FedEx Cup. No. But then the question comes down: is he playing well enough for Tom to pick him?
Well, no doubt he is not.
Huh?
He's not playing well enough to be picked.
No, I'm saying by the time the Ryder Cup comes around and they do the picks, the three captains picks, because he's not going to make it on points unless he gets really real hot real soon and starts winning something, So he's going to have to be a captain's pick. And the question is, do you take him if he's not playing well?
I wouldn't take him, but then there are obviously other factors that come into this.
Yeah. He the factor, the big factor I see is the time difference, because the tournaments will be on very early in the morning here, and to get people up and in front of the TV that time of morning, especially in the middle, football season starting here and college football and baseball's winding down, it's going to take Tiger Woods to put.
But I think the Ryder Cup is a global sporting event, and I think that people watch no matter who's playing with the Ryder Cup. It's like the Masters in that regard.
Well, it's getting that way. But in the last 3 Ryder Cups, you've had Tiger Woods in it too, though. So there hasn't been a question mark about who's drawing the, you know.
But then, what do the Americans want? The Ryder Cup to be watched by millions of Americans and to lose? Or, as the last time when he wasn't playing, the team comes together and performs really well and wins? And
Yeah.
that has to be the precedent. It has to be the priority is to win the Ryder Cup, because that benefits American golf.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's shaping up into a great year, and obviously the LPGA is a great year every week. But the PGA Tour, the European Tours, coming together now, and I think you will see the stars winning week in, week out. So another great week last week on the various tours of the world. Just to remind you that the St Andrews Golf Magazine June edition, which is packed with US Open features, will be coming out in the week before the US Open.
All right.
And so from me, I would say that that's good evening, and we'll see you all again next week.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.